He already got it! Oh my God! Takes the bear and a CLG! Now mounts the counterattack.
My. Oh. Oh. Oh, okay. Oh. 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 Really? Oh, sorry. I just finished watching games 1 through 5 in about 18 seconds.
So you had a bunch of heart attacks, and you also had an orgasm at the same time? 'Cause that's what it sounded like.
A little bit. At the very end. That's when the orgasm came through.
See, I can't have those heart attacks. I'm in the U.S. and I can't afford it.
Yeah, if you want, I could sponsor you to become a Canadian citizen. I get free healthcare, sort of, even though I pay like $80 a month for it.
Lucky bastard. All right, welcome everyone to the CLG Faithful podcast. This is episode 29. I'm your host, Nefarious, and I'm still alive, just barely.
Yeah. My heart's recovering. I'm Artrin, the usual. Whew. That was intense.
I had to force myself to look away. As mentioned, I can't afford it, so.
Yep, exactly. He came back at game 5 with, how long was that game? Like 3 hours?
I started with EU, so.
Oh, that's right. Oh my gosh. What was it, like 2 hours or an hour and a half delayed minimum? At least.
It was about 2 hours, whatever.
Almost 2 hours.
It was a
delayed.
fun series. It was a fun series.
I did enjoy watching.
I did enjoy it.
EU.
I did enjoy it.
I was on a bit of a tight schedule that day, and I was really hoping that it wasn't going to be 7 o'clock when LCS finished.
All right. So, for those that are in the dark and you've not been on the CLG subreddit, we have this little thing called the League of Legends Playoffs.
Yes.
And we faced off against Envy, who everyone was expecting us to 3-0.
Yep.
Maybe 3-1.
Maybe 3-1, at best.
So, in classic CLG fashion, what do we do?
Game 1, we gave everyone a heart attack.
What? But game 1, the game plan is to stomp, right?
I wish.
Alright, so let's go right into it. So
we'll start off.
We played off against Envy, and right off the bat, Envy plays significantly better than anyone anticipates them to.
Absolutely. I mean, think of it this way. CLG put such a huge emphasis on picking Zac this weekend. Like,
well, more than picking Zac, we were focusing on protecting Omargod from Lyra.
And I mean, that's a valid concern. Omargod, as we pointed out last week, weakest chain in the link for CLG. That's what we were predicting. That we needed Omargod to get ahead and win the jungle, basically for us to win.
Well, we didn't even need that. Just watching the game, like, we needed our bot lane to not turn it into a 2v5?
Pretty much 3v5 maybe. I mean, Omargod did have a great rest of the game. So we'll start it off.
Well, okay.
We have to explain why.
Let's define great.
Yeah.
So so let's just start off. So in all of the games, Envy actually decides to invade early on, and I was watching an interview with Stixxay, just came out today, I want to say, today or late yesterday night, and basically he was talking about how they expected them to try something, but then Envy was just straight up invading at level 1 onto Zac. And then they thought, okay, they're only going to do it onto Zac. And after that, then they realized, they're going to do it every single game of the series.
Yeah.
So they weren't expecting that. They said that during all of the scrims, that did not happen at all. So they were trying to adapt on the fly right then and there.
Now, I will say that you could clearly tell that CLG did not expect Envy level 1 to gank.
Yeah, well, to invade.
Or invade. Like, they did not expect that at all.
Right. So they kept trying a bunch of different little plays, whether it be, Flash Alistair, pulverizes, things like that. Whatnot, burning a lot of summoners early on, trying to stop the invades. So in this game at level 1, Omargod is on Zac, and Lyra is on Elise. So Zek is not exactly the best early game jungler, especially after his nerfs that came throughout the past few patches or so. And Envy invades, and then he forces Omar off the red buff, and he actually has to back without getting a single camp. So he has to go and take the Raptor camp by himself at level 1.
It was pretty brutal. It set because like you said, Lyra took our blue, took our wolves, and I believe Gromp as well. For free.
And
Scuttle Crab. So Lyra was like almost level 3 by the time he had taken his red, our blue, and all topside jungle camps. Like, he was way ahead. And that was basically when Omar God started Raptors.
Right. So this actually forces all of the COG's lanes to play super defensively.
Yep.
And they really can't do much of anything during this. So I was going to bring up the lanes, but I think the big focus here should just be on the bot lane. I mean, he's playing well throughout the series. He plays Vel'Koz's first game. Mm-hmm. And he's doing the highly interactive W max. So you press W twice, and congratulations, you cleared the lane.
Yep.
What a fun champion.
I mean, as well, Darshan was on Gnar. So
he did a lot of quiet work on Gnar.
He did. He was up against Shen. So right there, he's got like that early winning lane, especially up to level 6.
What did you say? Did you say winning lane?
I think so.
Are you sure we had winning lanes?
At least we did top lane. Top lane was a winning lane for sure.
Yeah, keep that in mind.
Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Darshan on Gnar, he basically kept Shen and Seraph at bay for most of the game and kind of stopped Seraph from being able to really get up to what a level 12 or a level 11 Shen can really be with tons and tons of farm if they've got that kind of like easy lane up matchup, because like Darshan on Gnar is just he's ridiculous, and when he gets those right positionals, it's fantastic.
Pretty much, but the problem is our bot lane. I didn't want to say it, man.
Okay, you know what? Game 1 bot lane wasn't awful. I mean, like Stixxay playing Tristana. It wasn't awful. He goes 5-1 in game 1.
Okay, but that's through team fighting. If we're talking specifically laning and just laning alone,
laning phase was pretty bad. It was basically because Tristana, Alistar. I mean, against a Caitlyn Thresh.
Oh, that's a losing lane for sure.
It's a losing lane because Aphromoo goes in on Alistar and all Thresh has to do is hook him because he's now at point blank range for hooks, which happened a lot. Like friggin' Hakuho was just on point the entire weekend with his hooks. And
right.
You got to give it to the guy. He was basically one of the largest contributing factors for Envy this entire weekend.
Oh, absolutely. I'd give him the MVP for Envy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, as you mentioned, he's constantly throwing out hooks, and our bot lane is getting hooked left and right. Oh. And part of it seemed to me that, yes, they are playing a losing lane, and yes, they did try to protect their jungler early on. They were forced behind, and I want to say they burnt summoners as well, so that really puts them on the back foot. Mm-hmm. But you cannot get trapped into Flay just over and over and over again. That's a very strong bot lane.
And it was a big issue for especially Omergod and Aphromoo initiating onto the Thresh. Initiating on a team fight on Thresh is an awful idea. Because all Thresh is going to do is he's going to hit R and hit you with a hook.
Or flay you backwards.
Or he's going to hit you with a hook, flay you backwards into his R to deal that first 99% slow to you. And it's just like, okay, your initiation has just been crushed and you probably blew everything like they were doing.
Yeah. So just to give a general sense of how the game played out, it doesn't end up going too well. I mean, Darshan's quietly putting in work on the top side of the map. He's picking up a pretty significant CS advantage.
Yep.
But then there's a fight that breaks out as, I want to say it was Lyra that tries to do an invade onto COG's red buff side. And sorry, yeah, so their blue side, they're trying to invade on their red buff. So the CLG bottom lane comes up to help. Fight breaks out, and it's 2v3 for a while, and then the mid laners start to come in, and both TPs come out. So unfortunately, what happens is it looks like it's going to go fairly well for CLG. Stixxay managed to pick up a kill, and looks like he's going to get a reset. And then Aphromoo. He manages to headbutt Cassiopeia, who Nisqy is playing, and headbutts her through the red buff wall straight towards Stixxay.
Yep. A Cassiopeia. Like,
So Stixxay dies,
yep.
And pretty sure that's when the question marks pings start to fly out.
Yeah. It was like, what's going on here? Like, what is CLG doing? This is basically where the heart attack is. At that point in time in the game, like, Envy was up. Like, you know, they weren't up, but they were
ahead for sure.
Yeah.
Our bot lane was down by, a good 20 or so CS?
What it looked like was a turning point for the game. And that looked like, oh crap. Like, CLG looked like they were kind of recovering from the early level 1 invade on Omar and kind of really setting him off and everyone needing to play defensive. It looked like they were recovering from that. And then that happened. And it just basically was like, all right, let's start the heart attacks. Babe, can you give me my my heart attack medication, please?
Yeah. So Envy ends up picking up one of the Mountain Drakes. And remember what I told you? There's a second Mountain Drake coming up. If they get it, they have Cass.
They have Cassie, and it's just,
that's an early Baron.
Yeah, easy.
So what happens a little later in the game?
Well, they end up having a fight over Baron. So Envy starts Baron, and like we say,
with double Mountain Drake.
With double Mountain Drakes on Cass. So just like the amount of damage output from the Cass on Baron is insane. However, the savior in the jungle, he starts his slingshot, and he slingshots into Baron, and the fight's going evenly. They're trading pretty evenly in this fight, with CLG with a slight advantage, but Omargod slingshots in and steals the Baron with smite.
I think he had to actually slingshot and then flash into the pit on top of that.
I think so. I don't 100% remember, because you're watching a team fight happen. It's like it's 5-on-4 for Envy, but I mean, we've got Omargod coming in, and Envy's fighting Baron, taking quite a bit of damage, while CLG is kind of kiting in from the river bush. And they're coming in, and then Omargod steals Baron, and that was the turning point of the game.
Yeah, if that didn't happen, we likely lose the game.
Yeah.
So and honestly, it was a really good call by Envy. They, in all likelihood, should have gotten the Baron, and from there they would have just steamrolled and ran over the game.
It would have. They would have gotten it. They have double Mountain Drake. They would have easily been able to go down, at least push, turrets into an inhibitor, most likely with the Baron, because they probably would have wiped the floor with us in that fight. But Omargod, with the freaking steal of the Baron, instantaneously turns the fight. And then I remember seeing on Twitter after that game where there was a whole bunch of fans or something. I don't know who it was. Someone was in a Cloud9 jersey, so I figured it was fans. They were all bowing down to Omar the God. Like the smite Baron steal and the turning point of the game to win it was fantastic.
Yeah, but that was not a game which you'd ever want to play again.
It was not a game that you really want to watch.
It came down to a lucky Baron steal and a lot of just Darshan playing super well.
Yeah. I mean, the Baron steal was the turning point, so that it allowed CLG to basically go from being at a deficit to being in the lead.
I think it's something like 4,000 to 6,000 right off that Baron. Just simply because they had pretty much every turret on the map except one that they could pick up.
Yeah.
And Tristana was online at that point.
Yeah. Tristana had just come online and was cleaning it up. in that Baron fight, and it's just like, oh.
And at that point, Gnar's got Frozen Mallet, Black Cleaver, so
yeah, the Gnar ult, like no one's running away from Gnar.
He's going to do things every top laner hates facing against Gnar. So
yep,
does that? That game's over.
That game was over.
So we go into game 2, and
yeah,
CLG again first picks the Zac. Really interesting on that.
It was, because you've never really seen CLG on Zac, like especially Omar-God. Like I've never seen Omar-God play Zac in LCS in the regular season. Hell, even Dardoch never played Zac, and so it was kind of weird to see the Zac focus, especially like as you said with the nerfs from the last couple of patches that have kind of taken Zac out of favor and off of that like permanently banned list. Pretty
much. And the other key points throughout the draft is that Haku still continues to get Thresh. Apollo goes on to his, I don't want to say signature, but at the very least his preferred AD carry in Varus.
Yep.
So a little interestingly enough, they paid Galio as a flex pick, and he ends up going mid lane. And they end up taking Gragas on the opposite side. And Seraph goes for the Rumble. So it's a highly AP-focused team comp.
Yeah, and I mean, at the same time, CLG kind of did... They basically took game 1. They're like, all right, that worked well. Let's do that again.
It did not work well.
And it didn't work well at all. Like, I mean, they changed it up a little bit. Darshan ends up being on Shen because they pick him in the 3rd round of picks, and just before that, Envy had banned Gnar. And who he ends up being on Victor instead. So you got Stixxay on Tristana, Afro on Alistar, Omar-God on the Zac again. And it's just...
I don't know, man. CLG's just this entire series seemed to really like drafting losing lanes. Yeah. And a losing jungle match, so I'm not quite sure what they were doing.
No, me either.
I mean, even in game 1, at least they had Gnar against Shen, so that's a winning matchup.
Yeah.
But...
And I mean, one of the other big things, too, is in game 1, the jungle matchup was Zac versus Elise. So, I mean, Zac has a really bad early game to begin with, just because he's so squishy and vulnerable to an early invade. And credit to Envy for taking that advantage. They're like, look, Zac can't fight back, and if we invade at level 1, we've got the advantage because Zac literally has no damage at all. And
he cannot help in a fight. He's useless.
No, he's useless in a level 1 fight. And I mean, even like the typical kind of level 1 start is, especially if they're going to start red like they did, was you just send up your support generally to help. Because it's like, okay, and it's Alistar. So, all right, Alistar has either headbutt or knock up, and in this case, he's got his knock up. And it's like, what does that do? That's on like a 20-second cooldown. There was literally, there was no level 1 fight. And again, they're like, okay, let's do a level 1 that sucks.
And Aphromoo bursts both summoners too on top of that, trying to stop it.
Yeah.
Well, as a good point, Darshan actually ends up forcing Rumble's TP around 3 or so minutes in. It was super early.
It was a really early TP take, which helped kind of him at the top lane.
Well, it helps him immensely.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, our bot lane was kind of heavy.
Yeah. I mean, looking at the score line, Stixxay, he was all right. Like, you know, he's 4-0-2. He didn't die at all that game.
True, but again,
Aphromoo,
you look specifically at the laning. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, our team fight is fine, but the laning itself was really bad.
It was bad, yeah.
All right, so you're talking about Aphromoo, right? Do you remember that one fight where he engages onto the bot lane and then it's stopped by the Galio ult?
Yep.
That puts them super far ahead because then they get the first turret on top of that. I want to say they get Inferno Drake on top of that.
Yep.
And they just continue to snowball from there.
It was a pretty bad snowball. I mean, the game wasn't even like that crazy long either. I mean, it was longer than game 1 actually.
Oh, but they had the best Drakes. They had mountains, double mountain, double Inferno.
I mean, nothing gets better than that. Like you can't ask for a better like set of Drakes than 2 Mountains and 2 Infernos.
Oh yeah, and even even if you're Darshan, who was pretty far ahead, I think he bought not Abyssal Mask. What's the Spectre's Cowl builds out of it?
I don't know.
The new tank item. I forget the name of it.
Yeah, me as well. I can't remember.
I forget the name of it, but whatever it is, the one that reduces the consistent applies and whatnot. He bought that. He's got a bunch of MR, and sure, Seraph has got Magic Pen and whatnot, but Double Mountain really burns through all of our tank. It burned through our tanks super fast.
Yeah, it did. It was pretty bad.
Yeah, so there's not too much to say on that. Actually, no, that was the one where CLG, Envy gets further and further ahead. They keep getting it, and then CLG wins a really big fight. But then they get super cocky, and about 2 minutes later, they go into another fight, and they just get flanked and killed.
Yeah. Ugh, it was just bad. Game
3 was the Jinx game. So
yeah.
CLG pulls out Jinx, and unfortunately, it's just nothing ends up getting off. 6 days never able to reset, and everyone always ends up living with just small slivers of hit points.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Just to like every single time a fight broke out, Stixxay maybe he would get like 80% of everyone's health down, but everyone on Envy had some form of escape. Like, just a way to get out. They either had their flash up or, your Corki, Elise, Trundle, or Thresh. Or it's just like, all right, I'm out. Peace.
Or Lantern.
Yeah, with, Thresh throwing a Lantern to Varus. And it's like, all right, bye.
Yes, Hako got Thresh again. Although this one's, CLG does try to switch things up a little bit. They draft Aphromoot onto Morgana, which is traditionally one of his best champions.
And a pretty decent counter to Thresh.
Right, they drop the Zac and they pick up a lot stronger jungler in Gragas.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a lot of flexibility in what he can do there. And Omargard's very comfortable with Gragas. And the Darshan goes to the top lane with Maokai. But unfortunately, Seraph picks Trundle.
Yeah, the Trundle pick into Maokai was just brutal. Because, Trundle is just like, oh, you're a tank? That's cool.
Tank? You mean bigger minion?
Yeah.
Because that's what happened. Omargard actually ganks top lane, and then Maokai gets pretty far ahead. He gets an early Bramble Vest, he gets a Ninja Tabi. That's around 2,000 gold, but man, you're just making auto attacker's life completely miserable.
Except Trundle.
Except Trundle. But even then, before he hits level 5, if you get an early Ninja Tabi or something like that, it's miserable.
It's great. Yeah. It's like you're doing nothing and taking tons of damage.
So that matchup ends up actually coming out the way you'd expected as the game goes further and further on. But one of the key things was that there was a fight, and it was near the Dragon Pit, and it was a little bit of an explosive fight. But unfortunately, in the end, what happens is Corki gets 3 kills with double Inferno on top of him, and he gets a huge mid-game power spike with a completed Triforce.
Yep.
That game is pretty much over.
The Corki was just, it was disgusting.
Disgusting. He had 0 kills. I want to say it was 0 assists. All of a sudden, boom, 3 kills right then and there. Finishes Triforce. They get the Inferno. It's done.
Yep.
And to make matters go from bad to worse, so then Trundle goes and he gets super tanky just because he says, "Oh hey, you have a Maokai or you have a Gragas," and they build pure tank. Yep. Well, guess what? I'm going to hit R, I'm going to steal all your stats, and then I'm going to be way more tanky than you, and you're just going to die.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where Trundle was so far ahead, just in terms of items, that he just goes straight up, ignores Darshan on the Maokai, and just keeps chomping away at the turret.
Oh, that was so bad. He just doesn't care. Maokai literally did no damage to him.
Yep. And that's how that matchup ends up becoming. But man, it just feels bad to go and you look at it and you're like, well, there's nothing he can do.
No.
There's actually nothing he can do.
as Maokai, there's nothing you can do against Trundle. Every Q basically heals him for the amount of damage you just did.
Yeah, so that game goes from bad to worse. Aphromoo, as we mentioned, throughout this entire series, is not doing well. He's dying quite a lot.
Yeah, and he's
Even
not...
Omar's dying a lot too. He has a bunch of random mistakes throughout this series.
Yeah, and it's one of the big things is like the kill participation for everyone else is in the games that we lose, like game 2 and game 3. We didn't get that many kills, but kill participation was actually relatively low across the board for everyone. Like it was a lot of, maybe 2 of them get in on the kill, like a lucky pick. But like in game 1, kill participation is relatively high across the board. Everyone's got a good chunk of, a good chunk of kill participation, but everyone's getting a little bit of money from it. But game 2 and 3, they were getting nothing.
Yes, then we move on to game 4, and this game tilted me like no tomorrow.
Oh gosh, it was just. Ugh.
So, what happens? Envy picks 4 tanks.
Yep.
They pick Cho'Gath, Rek'Sai, Galio, Varus for Apollo, of course, as their 1 damage dealer. And then Hakuho is on the Nautilus because Thresh is banned from CLG.
Yeah,
now,
first
CLG,
round.
on the other hand, they still end up picking Tristana. And this actually ended up being a really good counter pick by them. It was pretty clever because the key point here is that whenever Tristana wants to rocket jump away, you can buffer the jumps. Even if you get hit by, say, a Blitzcrank hook or a Thresh hook or whatever, you're still far away and you can get out. But with Nautilus, because whenever he throws the Q at you, it goes and he pulls Nautilus to you and he smacks himself into you. So even if you try to get away, it displaces you and it then puts you down to the ground. Yeah, I never thought about that being such a big counter pick on bot lane.
No, me either. I had no idea that really worked that way. But I guess because it moves you as opposed to moves, like it moves both of you together, as opposed to just moving one person.
Yeah, I mean, I play a ton of bot lane. I play a ton of AD carry, but I just never even thought about that. Yeah. And another thing is, not too many people are playing Nautilus support right now, or even Nautilus in general.
No, he kind of lost a lot of that luster. There was a lot of Nautilus play last split, I believe.
Yep.
Or at least early in the split, there was tons of it. Like it was a contested pick for jungle or support. It could really sway either way, and maybe the odd top lane. Mm-hmm. But lately, especially this split, I think that was one of the first times Nautilus was really pulled out.
Mm-hmm. And for some of our other players, Darshan's back on the Gnar, doing Darshan things on Gnar.
Yep.
That we've come to love and expect. And honestly, he was one of the heroes of this series.
Absolutely.
He really was. Omarguard's back on the Gragas, so he gets that comfort pick. Huhi's on Cassiopeia, and Aphromoo on Bard. So you're expecting great things on Bard, although into multiple tanks just feels really odd to me.
Yeah, the Bard pick kind of threw me off a little bit in that, like, Envy, it was a 3rd round pick, but Envy by that time already had the Rek'Sai and Galio.
And then they pick a melee matchup into the range.
Yeah.
And Aphromoo did not look good on Bard either.
Yeah. He didn't look that great, but he had like a 95% kill participation. He was in 18 of 19 kills.
Sure, but this game, it was really bad from the beginning.
In the laning phase, 100%. Like it was awful.
He goes and does a flash Q and misses that right under their turret.
Yeah.
Ends up dying for it. And we just get super lucky because we just poured a whole bunch of DPS onto Apollo, end up picking up a kill there. So it's a 1-for-1. But even so, our bot lane is just dying.
Yeah. Bot lane was dying quite a bit. I mean...
I feel like I say this every game, but that's what happened.
that it's basically what happened. Like either Stixxay was never around for laning phase, like he just hadn't like zoned in for it, or they just died a bunch. And again, though, like it comes down to Stixxay on like Big Dixxay on the Tristana. It's
even
one of
Hui
those
on Cassiopeia too.
Yeah, Hui on the Cassie is just once they get their items and they start to get comfortable and they start to see how things are playing out. They generally have hard. Yeah, they do. And that's exactly what happened in this game was that the game goes 36 minutes long. CLG is like, okay, we have the late game composition. You know, we're sitting on the Gnar, the Cassie, the Tristana, and the Bard, and you're sitting on 4 tanks and an AD carry, right? So, you know, our tanks in the Gnar and the Gragas build armor because no one cares about Galio's damage late game. Like early mid game, the damage is something you have to worry about.
It's fairly respectable.
Yeah, but as the late game comes around and everyone's, you know, hovering over 2,000 HP, Galio's damage is nothing. All he has is that kind of his passive and his ultimate. And it's just when you don't have to worry about 4 other players, once you take out Varus, it's basically like, all right, we got Tristana and Cassiopeia and a Gnar.
To be fair, there is a ton of CC, so if you get hit by one, you get hit by all of them.
You get hit by all of it. So it was the picking on Grog or on the Varus. That's basically what.
Right. So tell me this: did you get super tilted when you were watching? So COG wins a fight, and then they go to do Baron, and then right there. There's a fight that breaks out, and then oh my god, he stays in the pit while everyone else is fighting, and then he just walks out and dies because he gets feasted upon by Cho'Gath.
Yes.
Did you get super tilted by that?
I was so tilted by that. I was just like, no, God. That was like another heart attack happening.
Yeah, because if COG gets that, they can win right then and there with that Baron.
Yeah. Instead, oh my god. Dies to Baron, basically.
Yeah, he doesn't. Well, he gets super low by Baron, but yeah, he ends up dying because Cho'Gath just ults him.
Mm-hmm.
So, a little bit later, maybe 2 to 4 minutes later, this is the one point which Aphromoo really ends up becoming clutch this game, and he ends up using his Tempered Fate, and it hits Apollo, Apollo,
just barely too.
Oh, it was stupid close. Yeah. And because of this, he's the 1 point of DPS, and they've got nothing for those 3 seconds.
Yeah.
It's as good as killing him. Because you have late game Cassiopeia and Tristana, and even Gnar.
And they're pushing on the top lane turret, or the inhibitor turret.
Yeah, your 3 damage dealers at that point, your 2 primary ones, really, they just melt the tanks, and then they instantly go onto the 1 point of damage, and the game's over from there.
Yeah,
but
it was the Cassiopeia Tristana, like you said, melt everyone, and then your AD carry is now vulnerable to damage. Oh, he's dead too. Well, now you guys do nothing. Like,
yeah. So then we move on to Game 5, and finally, Game 5 it's like a breath of fresh air because COG decides, hey, you know what? Let's not do the same things we've been doing the entire series.
Yeah, hey, remember what things Darshan's really good at? He's good at playing carry top lanes. Maybe we should just, like, instead of being like, all right, we won a game, let's put Darshan on a tank. Maybe we should just, like, go, let's do 2 games in a row where Darshan's on a carry.
Right. So Seraph actually ends up taking the Gnar away, and Darshan pulls out the Camille counter pick.
It's beautiful.
And he demolishes Seraph this entire series.
Seraph was a he was essentially it was basically
he was a very mobile minion.
It was 5-on-4.
He was a mobile minion.
Yeah. He was just he was basically like what was that item called that is it still around where you can empower one single minion?
A Banner of Command?
The Banner of Command, yeah. So he was basically a bannered minion at that point against the Camille. It was great to watch.
Pretty much. Darshan ends up going off pretty big. The one big interesting point here is that Nisqy ends up playing Kog'Maw mid.
Yeah.
And apparently, so I was listening to another talk show, and then it was Mark Z. He was ended up talking to Nisqy, the MV coach. He was like, "Why'd you guys pick Kog'Maw mid?" And then he responded, "Well, we didn't really know what to pick into Corki at that point, so we just knew that Kog'Maw was good into it." Because Stixxay someone mentioned that, they did all the prep work, they checked all the runes and masteries, they checked all the match history and whatnot. They had no evidence that he had ever played Kog'Maw mid.
Yeah.
They didn't know it was going to happen at all.
I mean, truthfully, early in that game, it looked like that Kog'Maw was going to be the winning factor for Envy.
That entire game.
The artillery from Kog'Maw was ridiculously brutal.
Yeah, and this was AD Kog'Maw, not AP.
Yeah, AD Kog'Maw. It was always that he would chunk you down low, and you were able to get away, but just barely. But then the living artillery came out.
I mean, this entire game was a pretty bloody game overall. It got to the point where so many team fights were decided by maybe one, maximum 2 auto attacks either way. Kog'Maw gets 1 or 2 more of those autos.
Completely
he gets clean ace, and the game is over.
Yep.
Apollo I think he was frontlining for Kog'Maw. That's what it looked like.
It seemed that way. It seemed like Nisqy was like, "Hey, Apollo, I want to be the AD carry this game." And Apollo was like, "Okay."
I don't think Apollo had a choice. He got Camille ulted every time.
I mean, he was playing Kalista, who is a good AD carry, but when you're up against like a Camille or a Corki, even an Alistar, Camille or Kalista is just like such an immobile champ to be playing against an Alistar.
Yeah, I mean, if he's got no abilities up, it can work fine. But the big thing is they just kept instantly engaging onto him. He gets blown up, and then everyone is trying to dive straight onto Nisqy and try to kill him.
Yeah.
And so you remember that one team fight? It was a super crazy fight near the Drake. And I had no idea what was going on during that fight because everyone just got blown up in about a quarter of a second. Kog'Maw lives with a sliver hit point.
Yeah.
I think he gets a triple kill or something right around there with his dying breath. And then Corki, so he's the only one left alive. And then Envy's got their 3 tanks with Gnar, I guess semi-tank bruiser, whatever.
Yeah.
But Zac and Nautilus, and they're all super low, so Corki just barely manages to pick those up too.
Yeah. That was such a crazy fight.
And who he's got, what, maybe 100 or so hit points left?
Yeah, it ended up being a 3 for 4 in favor of Envy, but the real winner was CLG in that fight because Corki just got a huge influx of gold. I mean, so did Nisqy, but Corki got a huge influx of gold that he really needed to bring Corki fully online and ready to go. But at the same point, a mid AD was left alive against 2 tanks. So basically, he was like, okay, I'm going to go back. I'm going to heal up. And now I'm going to go push a lane because I'm an AD carry against 2 tanks that don't really do any damage.
So interesting enough, this game was also weird because CLG ran the double TP. But they ran a 3-2 setup with the 2 people with TP in the same lane half the time.
Yeah, it was all a little weird to have Darshan and Corki pushing this, or Huhi pushing the same lane a lot. And I think at one point Envy tried to bait a teleport out, but it was they had 2 teleports, so they weren't really sure who was coming. It was around Baron. They were trying to bait. Envy was trying to bait a teleport out, but Darshan didn't actually have teleport up, and Corki was already showing bot lane, and then he kind of disappeared. or who he had was showing bot lane, and then he kind of like walked off so they wouldn't know who was teleporting. But they were trying to bait Darshan's teleport out, so he couldn't split push.
Yeah, they didn't have an exact timer,
and they didn't have the exact timer.
Seconds, so.
And so they tried to bait it out, but by that time, Corki had shown up to the fight. Darshan is off split pushing and is about to start split pushing it. And they couldn't actually bait it because he didn't have it up. And Envy ends up kind of losing that skirmish, and Darshan just like, well, all right, I'm gonna keep split pushing.
Yeah, that game was on a knife's edge, and honestly,
really
Envy could have won that if. A lot of people mentioned if Kog'Maw had a Redance Hurricane, which honestly makes a lot of sense considering how CLG was always grouped up. You can attribute that to hindsight bias. I know a lot of people are also mentioning that too.
Mm-hmm.
But even so, man, that was close game.
It was a very close game, and just the whole time you're on edge because you look at Envy's team and you're like, all right, they have 3 tanks, and they have a decent mix of AD AP because the Kog'Maw is scaling off AD but dealing a good chunk of his damage.
No. You're thinking Corki. Corki does mostly AP.
Oh, right. That's right. Sorry. So, like, they had basically nothing but AD, and it makes it so much easier for CLG to play around if they only have to really worry about one type of damage.
Except that one type of damage is coming from the one person.
The one person
if played properly can put up probably the most damage in the game.
Yeah, it's like Kog'Maw just doesn't care if you have 4,000 armor.
He also does percent health, so
yeah, that's it, right? He doesn't care if you have 400 armor and 7,000 health because the more health you have, the more damage he's dealing.
Yeah. So overall, it was not a good series. Our bot lane definitely needs to step up. Our jungle needs to step up. And, my heart says CLG will win against Immortals, but my brain tells me we're going to get demolished.
Yeah. So in case you didn't understand that, CLG won Game 5. Amazing. We win. we go 3-2 against Envy. And so we will be facing off against Immortals in the semifinals. And Stixxay actually went on record on video saying that he believes
he's trolling us.
I think he might be. He believes that the Immortals CLG matchup will be decided by the bot lane. And you know what?
He's so trolling us.
If he is being sincere in that statement,
we're screwed.
I could see, but at the same time, I feel based off their play in the Envy series that
if we're going off of laning alone, we are so screwed.
Yeah. Team fighting was fantastic, but Immortals
our solo
was
laners will
place.
do fine.
Yeah,
our solo laners would do just fine, but
Immortals was second place for a reason, and it literally came down to the TSM CLG game to decide if Immortals was going to be number 1 seed or number 2 seed in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So that says a lot, and it means we're going to have a tough matchup against Immortals, and I believe it's going to come down to a 3-2 again. At this point in time, I don't really know.
I think it's going to be 3-1 in favor of Immortals, but we'll see. I want it to be CLG win, obviously. I want to go up against TSM and beat them in the finals.
Yeah.
But realistically, looking at our play this week, I think it'll be 3-1.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe we can steal a game, but
I still think it's going to be 3-2, but I don't. My heart wants CLG to win it, but my brain is kind of I don't know who's going to win it.
All right. Well, you can criticize me for lack of faith. I will still support them. Don't worry. I'll always do that. But
always supporting.
Yes, let's move on.
Yes, let's. So let's move on to that sweet CS:GO.
So we got Papa Hayes back.
Yeah, so Kusta was having some family issues or some family problems. So he was out of commission for this. So this is the ESL 1 New York qualifier. So it was a closed qualifier and only teams invited basically got to come play. And CLG was invited. So in place of Kusta, we had Papa Hayes, which is great. And our first matchup was against Tempo Storm Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
So map 1 ended up being on Train. And I mean, CLG's had a pretty good history on Train. There hasn't been a ton of CSGO lately. So it's kind of hard like for CLG playing as a team. And this is an online tournament, just so everyone knows. So, you know, CLG online. It was a great start for CLG. They took the pistol round and the following round. Tempo, though, did take the next 3 rounds, putting CLG in a little bit of a pickle here because they basically just won 2 rounds, spent all their money, and then lost 3 rounds in a row. It's kind of harsh. However, from there, it became very back and forth, with Tempo taking the early lead in the half 9-6. Pistol round, though, looked back, but Cutler got it looked bad, but Cutler got an amazing long-range headshot with his Glock on B site. From heaven all the way to the very back of B. Like, it allowed CLG to get in and plant the bomb and actually win the round. And the comeback was real. CLG took the lead 12-10 at one point, with Hayes in the 23rd round being a freaking god, taking 4 kills and a really tough situation in B. From there, CLG just pushes onwards and takes the map 16-10. So up 1-0 for CLG. Map 2 ended up being Cobblestone. Not one that traditionally CLG has been a god in. They've always gone pretty even here, but this game, this was good. FNS, though, kind of like in the first round, he jumped the gun really like a couple seconds too late. Whenever you're playing, you're trying to get the drop on someone in CSGO, and you can hear their whole team coming, never shoot the first guy. Never shoot at the first guy. Let him pass, and if he doesn't notice you, take out the rest of his team, because they're going to come running by. He's going to be like, all right, clear, let's go. Unfortunately, FNS jumped it a little early, missed all of his shots, and basically allowed Tempo to gain the B site and win the pistol round.
If you're going to shoot someone early, at least kill the guy.
Yeah, so he waited long enough so that he saw at least 2 people, but he kind of just over-aimed a little bit, you know, and just like, boom, missed all his shots. They all flick around. They're like, holy crap, someone's there, and just take him out. Though, from that point onward, CLG dominated Tempo Storm. At one point, it was 3-3. Then, on round 16, Ethan gets, from Moses, who was casting this game, a Daddy's Home, which was fantastic coming from Moses. And Moses actually later on in his cast went on to say that he actually really likes Ethan as a player by himself. Like, he's like, as his single play, he reminded him of Swag, which is a pretty big compliment coming from Moses, who is a relatively big critic of a lot of NA teams. So he gets the Daddy's Home from Moses as he gets out of a smoke with an AK and aces Tempo Storm. So he was like hiding in the smoke that Tempo Storm had thrown, hides in it. The smoke starts to clear. He hears their entire team come through. Boom, he pops out, aces Tempo Storm to bring the boys up 13-3. Tempo would only gain one more round win in the rest of the game. CLG taking it 16-4. That means that CLG moves onward to face Team Rise Nation in the semifinals. Why don't you tell us how that went?
I'd rather not.
All right, I'll explain.
Okay. So they start off in map 1 on Cobblestone, and it's a really tough start. They actually start up with 0-6 early on, so already things are looking pretty damn tough. But then in round 7, Ricky gets an amazing comeback with a back-to-back 3K with the AWP, and CLG is able to take the first round. From there, Tempest Storm ends up taking one more round, but then CLG brings it all the way back up to 8-7 at half. From there, they make an amazing comeback, and they lose the pistol round, but then they go on to crush them in game 1.
Yeah. So they basically the comeback that they had going down 0-6. They basically took that to heart, and they're like, we got to win. And they take it 16-8.
Right. So then we go on to match 2. And this is on Train. So you're feeling good going into this and thinking, all right, it's COG on Train. You should do pretty good on here.
Yeah, pretty decent.
As seems to be the way this entire series is going, COG is losing the pistol round. So it goes a little bit back and forth for a bit. But then COG is ultimately able to echo a slight lead at half with 8-7. From there, again, they have a really tough start. It seems like we're just going really, really slow in all of our matches. And they end up losing the first 4 rounds. Right there, Ethan, with the AWP, he takes down 3 from Rise Nation from the very back of Site B, and they get the round win right after that. From there, it really doesn't get much better though, unfortunately, because then Rise Nation ends up taking map 2, 16-12. Excuse me. From there, we go into map 3, the one to decide it all, and honestly, there's not too much to say. The boys this weekend, man, they tried their damnedest, but it just got from bad to worse. And unfortunately, Rise Nation ended up knocking CLG out of the close qualifier 16-3 with map point.
It was a pretty bad Inferno showing, really. I think they need to just really practice on Inferno. I think the throwing dust or the taking dust out of the competitive rotation and bringing a remade Inferno in really threw CLG for a tough time. Like, I don't know what it is, but it just seems anytime they play on Inferno, they just suck. I you know what? It's been a little while since they've really played heavily, but
can't they adjust that with the rotations? Or
they can ban Inferno out.
Right.
There are map bans, but there's only, I believe for this one it was like 2 or 3 map bans. So they have to leave up quite a few. And CLG didn't want Nuke and they didn't want Overpass.
Okay.
So I guess it just, those are the 2 maps that they know. I guess Rise Nation maybe is really good on Overpass because I've seen CLG play on Overpass and they do a pretty good job on Overpass. Nuke is a different story. I'm pretty sure most people just don't want to play on Nuke in general. There's way too many like little weird corners and oh god, the sites being on top of one another is just awful. You're like, all right, guys, I think people are coming A. Oh nope, they're all B.
You complain about it quite a bit.
Yeah, I hate Nuke.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I wanted to bring up. Crap, what was I gonna say?
I don't know.
Alright. At any rate, there is a match that, as the time of recording of this podcast, has not been played yet. It's versus Cloud9 in EPL.
Yeah. So because we're recording this a day late, it's Tuesday. They are playing Cloud9 in the EPL, I believe, right now. But
yep, it's right now.
Yeah, that's happening right now.
So let's take a little peek to see how they're doing. Do you want to do that? Why not?
I can do that. They're playing. Let's see if they're playing right now. I mean, it's ESL, so it could be, pretty awful. And they are currently live with. Here we go. CLG.
It's not too bad right now.
It's not too bad. 6-5. I mean, against Cloud9, that's pretty decent. I mean, they've got Shroud, Stewie, Rush, Skadoodle, and Tarek. They got Tarek again, didn't they? That's right.
Yeah, but we do have Kusta back.
We do. Kusta is back for this, so that is good. That could be a very, very good thing. I mean, Papa Hayes, man, he played his goddamn heart out.
Oh, yeah. Now I remember what I was going to say. How many times are we going to bring Hayes back?
I mean, Hayes
keeps coming back, man.
He does. He keeps coming back. He loves CLG. That's all you can really say is Hayes and CLG are one and the same. And I don't think Hayes would ever say no to subbing in to CLG. I think he just loves the environment. like him and FNS are probably like best buds forever. So it's just, yeah, it's good. I like seeing him play, but I think CLG just needs to, there was nothing we could control about Kusta having to go. Family issues are a huge thing, and you cannot not go to a family issue. So, hopefully Kusta, man, everything's all right, bud.
Yep. And moving on, this little thing with SFAT going on today.
Yeah, it was just the other day. Yeah, what was that? Oh, SFAT's birthday. It was SFAT's birthday. Big man.
Happy belated birthday, SFAT.
Yeah. And you know what? We also have to say one more.
Oh, do we?
Oh, we do.
Who is it?
Void. Void turned 21 this weekend.
That's right. So
yeah.
Happy belated birthday to Void too.
Yeah. Hopefully, Void's birthday was before SFAT's. Hopefully, those two. Hopefully, CLG took him out and got Void. Not too wasted, Yeah. Void's back, He's like, hey, buddy, you're 19 now. Or sorry, 19, 21 now. That's the Canadian in me. 21 now. You're a big boy. Let's go have some fun. So hopefully SFAT showed him the smash ways. Hopefully not as bad as Mango though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully SFAT didn't show him how Mango parties, because that boy can drink.
Right. So Void did have to be sober enough to play this weekend.
He did.
And he did play in the 2GG SCR saga.
Yeah.
And this is the 7th qualifier for the 2GG Championship Series. I can't say today. So this event was in Santa Ana, California.
Yeah.
And essentially the way this works is that you get points based on how high you place at every one of their qualifying events. Void, after the results of this tournament, has 68 points, and he's in 10th place with specifically with points.
Nice.
To qualify. So, he starts off in Pool C, and he actually starts off with a really solid clean sweep in groups. And with 4 wins under his belt, he moves up a place up against Mistake. Now, the Bayonetta player actually ends up falling to Void's Sheik, and it's another clean series, 3-0. From there, Void advances to the quarterfinals against Nero. The Xamax player is able to pick up 2 wins of Final Destination, but then Void's able to turn around and get that sweet, sweet reverse sweep. Unfortunately from here, Void's progress is actually halted as he takes on Larry Lur's Fox, and each map ends up coming down to the very last stock for both players, but in the end, Larry picks up the 3 back-to-back wins that he needs to force Void into the loser's bracket. And from here, he actually goes up against the guy he sent to the loser's bracket in the first place. It was a Mistake all over again.
Nice.
So, they end up trading maps, and Mistake takes the first map at Town City, and then Void's able to pick one up again on Smashville. Unfortunately, it seems that Mistake ends up adapting to how Void plays, and is able to get the better of him for the last 2 games of the series, which means Void ends up placing between the 9th through 16th spot. That doesn't sound right. Now that I've said it.
Void got
thank you.
place.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I said it. It didn't sound right.
Yeah, Void. So that means Void finishes in 5th place. So not a bad showing by Void in singles. Apparently it did look. I didn't get a chance to watch this game, but apparently it did look really, really close in that final game. That it looked like Void was going to win. He hung on super well, but unfortunately fell.
He ended up going down to his last stock quite a few times, and it was neck and neck at times.
Yeah.
But I have to say, a Mistake did definitely get the better Void.
Yeah. That sucks. So he also played in some Wii U doubles as well.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
How's
he
that
did.
go?
Him, so I guess Nakat was unfortunately not able to come. So instead, he ended up playing with Korean.
All right, so how's that turn out?
Win. Yeah. So, turns out, to start off, they played against Snek and Woden, and they beat him 2-0. But then, right into the winner's quarters of the pools, they come up against Pixel and Calculus, and take an uncharacteristic loss, going down 1-2 against them. So that puts them into the loser's bracket of pools, where they come up against Dynamite and Plexi, who they beat 2-0. They also 2-0 Balanced and Sinibu 2-4-2. Then against AC and Zan, they beat them 2-1. Unfortunately, then they come up against Ludi and Mr. Con, and this is still in pools, and go down 0-2, meaning that Void and Korean finish in 13th place in doubles. Not a strong showing by the pair, but I believe it was actually a very last-minute thing to be pairing up with Korean. Naka was signed up, but didn't actually register for any of the events. So he didn't end up going to the Smash 2GGC event. And so I have a feeling that he probably ended up dropping out pretty late in the call, and that means that Void kind of had to scramble to find a partner. Yeah, so that
I think that does
brings us to everything CLG this weekend.
Yeah. Sorry if I sounded way too negative this week, guys. Man,
it was hard to watch.
That League series did not put faith in me for the upcoming Immortals match. CSGO did not turn out the way we wanted it to.
No.
Even Smash, for the most part, didn't turn out the way we wanted it to. Like, it was not a fun week.
In CSGO, we should have 2-1'd Rise Nation. And we should have been into the finals against Cloud9. Now, Cloud9 is a very strong team in CSGO, and especially right now, picking up Tarek, they probably would have crushed us in the qualifier. There's some
interesting roster swaps going on.
There has been. North America has had quite a lot of roster swaps. And
COG did pick up a head coach. We forgot to mention that.
Oh, that's right. They did pick up Ryu. He was probably one of the highest.
Not Phoenix One Ryu.
Yes, not Phoenix One Ryu. He was probably one of the highest profile pickups for CLG in a long time.
Yeah. Was that Selfless Ryu?
I believe yes. It was Selfless Ryu. They picked him up as their head coach, which I think once he kind of gets going and kind of sees the boys play, especially come LAN, as long as it's not a Valve LAN, I think he's going to be a huge improvement for the CSGO team.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm just watching the match live right now, and it's currently 7-7 in round 15.
That's not bad.
Yeah, but unfortunately Ricky and FNS just got taken out, but only Shroud and Tarek are left. Oh no, only Tarek now.
Tarek's pretty good though in those clutch situations.
Yeah, he just took out Kusta. It's only Ethan left.
Ooh, that's
it's close. They're both on.
That's close. Yeah.
CLG wins.
Nice. They take it 8-7 to go into half.
8-7. Yep.
Nice. All right, guys. Well, that's about it. There's no Overwatch. I don't know what's happening on that end. There's been
there's been nothing in a month.
Yeah, there's been no news on Overwatch. We still don't have a full Overwatch roster. We only have 5 of 6 and a head coach. So I don't know, man. I mean,
hotshot.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't pay attention to Overwatch very much. If CLG is playing Overwatch and I'm doing nothing, I'll try and watch it. But Overwatch, I find it very difficult to watch in general. And I really only look up CLG Overwatch news. And
so Blizzard claims they're going to change to make it more spectator friendly, but
what are they going to do?
I don't know, man. We'll see what they do.
Down, make games like 30 minutes long. Like a map. I don't know.
I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think it's all we got. So, You want to do the honors?
Sure. CLG Faithful Podcast is a weekly podcast, and we go over all things CLG. If you do enjoy what we are doing, please take a moment to follow us on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, or give us a rating on iTunes or Google Play. We would highly, highly appreciate it. It is fantastic to have you guys following us. We also love getting feedback, so please send us your thoughts over at clgfaithful@gmail.com. You can also tweet us, or we always make the CLG subreddit the CLG subreddit post every week when we post our videos. You can also post something there. And we promise, man, we will respond to your criticism or your constructive stuff. We appreciate it.
Yep, we've not failed yet in responding, so...
Yes, that's true.
But we do very much appreciate all the feedback. So thank you very much for everyone who do listen to us. And if you made it this far, hey, thanks for listening to the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels great when we see those listen numbers, you know, like someone who's listened through to the entire thing. So thank you very much.
Yep. And again, I know we went a really long time into League today. A little disjointed, but we're sorry.
Hey, it's playoffs, you know. It's going to happen.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, guys. This has been Artron.
And this has been Nefarious.
Peace out.
Later.